back, students. In part 1 of this chapter, Foundation of Planning, we understood why planning matters and what type and kinds of goals and plans managers use. Now, in the second half of this chapter, let's dig deeper into how goals are set and plans are developed. So, in today's lecture, we discuss different approaches to goal setting. Organizations use different approaches to set goals, and in this book, uh, Robin highlights three different major approaches: traditional goal setting theory, the mean ends chain, and management by objective approach. In the traditional goal setting approach, goals are established by top level managers and then passed down to lower levels of organization. The idea is that the goals are at the top provide direction for the rest of the organization. For example, the CEO may set a goal such as improve company performance. As this general goal moves down through the levels of management, it becomes translated into more specific goals for departments, units, and employees. However, a major problem with this approach is that goals often become ambiguous or distorted as they trickle down. What starts as improve company performance may be interpreted by middle manager as increased sales and by front line managers as cut cost aggressively and sometimes even at the expense of quality or employee satisfaction. So, this approach lacks clarity, which can result in conflicting actions across departments. The second approach is the mean ends chain approach. It tries to resolve some of these issues by establishing a logical link between a higher level and lower level of goals. In this system, the achievement of a lower level goals becomes the means through which higher level goals are attained. For example, in a university setting, the research assistants may have goals related to collecting data or publishing small papers. These contributions help faculty members achieve their own research publication targets, which in turn supports the department broader goals of increasing their research output and ultimately help the university achieve its strategic objectives of improving its global ranking. So, this approach creates a clear line of sight for employees, showing them how their individual efforts connect to organization's mission. And the most modern and the widely used method is management by objectives, which we also call MBO approach. In this approach, goals are not just set by the top management, rather than they are jointly determined by managers and employees. Both parties participate in deciding the goals, defining the standards, and reviewing the progress together. This increases employee commitment, reduces ambiguity, and aligns personal and organizational objectives. There are four major essential elements of MBO: goal specificity, participative decision making, explicit time period, and performance feedback. A good example of MBO can be seen at Google, where employees and managers use a system of objectives and key results, OKRs. In this system, employees send ambiguous objectives in collaboration with their managers, and progress is relatively reviewed regularly. For example, Google engineer may set an objective like improve Gmail's loading speed, with key results such as reduce average loading time by 20% in 6 months. So, these goals are transparent across the team, So everyone knows how their work connects to the broader company mission. This opens a participative style of goal setting, creates accountability, fosters innovation, and has contributed to Google's success in continuously improving its products and services. If you were working in a company, which methods would make you more motivated? Top down goals decided only by a top manager, or participative goals where you had input in setting your targets? Why? Coming to the next point is characteristics of well written goals. Not all goals are effective. Well written goals must be specific, must be measurable, achievable, relevant, and time oriented, which we also call SMART goals. So, specificity ensures that goals are clear rather than vague. Measurability allows progress to be tracked objectively. Time bound goals provide a deadline that creates urgency. And moreover, good goals should be challenging yet realistic, ambiguous enough to push people beyond their comfort zone, but not so unrealistic that they demotivate them. So, finally, they must be written down and communicated clearly so that everyone understands them. For example, when the CEO of Procter and Gamble set a goal to add 548,000 new customers daily for 5 years, it was highly specific, measurable, and time bound. While extremely ambiguous, it gives the company a clear direction and a challenging target to aim for. In contrast, a vague statement like getting more customers would not have had the same motivating effect. There are different steps in goal setting. Setting goals is not a random process, it follows logical steps or patterns. First, manager must review the organization mission, since goals should have aligned with the broad purpose of the organization. Secondly, they evaluate available resources. Goals that ignore financial, human, or technological constraints are likely to fail. Thirdly, managers should determine goals with inputs from employees, as this create ownership and motivation. Fourth, once goals are set, they must be written down and communicated across the organization to avoid any kind of confusion. And lastly, managers should regularly review results and adjust goals where necessary. So, ensuring in order to ensure continuous improvement. For example, again, we're taking the example of university. University might begin with the mission of becoming a leader in quality education. Based on available resources, it may set goals for faculty hiring, research publications, student enrollment. Input from faculty and staff would ensure practical targets, and periodic reviews would check whether these goals are being met or need to be revised. Coming to the next topic, which is about developing plans. Once goals are set, managers need to develop plans to achieve them. Three factors that influence the nature of plans. The first is the organizational level. Top managers create broad strategic plans, while lower level of managers create detailed operational plans. The second factor is environmental uncertainty. When uncertainty is high, plans should remain flexible and adaptable. For example, during COVID-19, many organizations had to revise their operational plans to shift towards digital platforms. And the last factor is the commitment concept, which suggests that plan should cover a time frame long enough to fulfill commitments made when the plan was created. There are various approaches to planning. There are also different approaches to how plans are made. In traditional top-down planning approach, executives and specialized planning departments develop plans only, which are then communicated down through the organization. While this provides consistency and alignment, a common criticism is that lower level employees are ignored in such plans because they feel disconnected from the decision making process. But in contrast, bottom up approach or participative planning involves employees at all levels. Plans are developed collaboratively, taking into account the perspectives of frontline employees who are more closest to the actual work. For example, Dell use participative planning where teams adjust plans on weekly based on based on customer demand and supply chain conditions. So this creates more dynamic, more realistic planning process. Coming to the contemporary issues in planning, planning today faces unique challenges due to globalization, technological changes, and uncertain environments. One issue is planning is dynamic environment. Plans must be specific enough to provide direction, but flexible enough to allow adaptation. For example, the IT company Wipro trained its employees to set goals directly with clients, allowing real-time adjustment in response to market needs. Another contemporary issue is environmental scanning and competitive intelligence. Managers cannot rely only on internet data or internal data. They must actively gather information about competitors, industry trends, and customer behavior. For example, PepsiCo former CEO Indra Nooyi personally visit Chinese families to understand their shopping habits before planning. So, Pepsi's strategy in China, however, while competitive intelligence is useful, it must remain ethical. Spying on competitors or engaging in corporate espionage create legal and ethical boundaries. So, goal setting and planning are not just an administrative task, they are the backbones of management. Organizations can choose different approaches, but effective goal setting requires clarity, participation, and adaptability. Plans must reflect organizational levels, adapt to uncertainty, and remain ethical, grounded in competitive environment. So students, in this chapter, we saw how managers set goals, use of MBO in developing plans, considering different contingency factors, and how modern organizations plan in uncertain and fast-changing environment. Failing to plan is planning to fail, but rigid planning can also be dangerous. Effective planning is about balance, setting clear goals while remain flexible and responsive to change. That is the true art of planning and management. So that is all about today's lecture. Thank you. Allah Hafiz.